which feels like it was literally yesterday. Because we do this so much. We don't just do this competition and then show up again a year later. It literally takes the entire year to get to the end. And the same thing is true of today, of the pediatric competition. This is something that had a lot of time and preparation that went into this. The image that you see on the screen, I'm only showing you briefly just to give you the reference that what you see on the stage are the finalists from our accelerator program last year, and behind them are the faces of the ecosystem that supports them. And I give you that message because that's what this is really all about. As you heard just now a couple minutes ago, I mean, pediatric device innovation is extremely hard, and it takes a real ecosystem and a community to make these technologies successful, to actually bring these technologies to the market. We're extremely lucky to be supported by some incredible people throughout the industry, not just in supporting us and MedTech Innovator, but be supporting pediatric innovation in general. And so MedTech Innovator, briefly, is a nonprofit. We're an accelerator for medical technology, but we're a virtual accelerator. We work with people all over the world. We basically bring together the ecosystem, what I like to say, like literally the best ecosystem in the entire world for MedTech, and we bring it to startups no matter where they are. And what we're doing here with NCCPDI is the same thing. It's the idea of bringing together the best ecosystem for pediatric innovation to wherever these startups are. Our company's called MedTech Innovator for a reason, because it's not just about the technology, it's about the innovators and about supporting the innovators who bring these technologies to market. So we're extremely lucky to be able to do this. This is an opportunity for all of you who are participating, whether you're judges, whether you're the startups, or you're just here to support innovation and be part of pediatric innovation. This is an opportunity to really make an impact on these companies. This isn't just a pitch competition where people come up and they get a check and then or they get a picture and they walk off stage and maybe post something to Twitter or somewhere else. This is an opportunity to then go over and to meet with these companies, to be involved with them, to support them on their journey, because this is really, really hard. And it's not just the development of the device. It's not just the regulatory approval and everything that goes along with that. It's just the nuts and bolts of being a startup. And so anything you can do, anyone here in this audience, I encourage you to come up and to meet the different companies in the breaks at different times, give them your card, and just offer the opportunity to support them, because they really need your help. So what we're going to be doing today, I'm going to give you a brief introduction for what this is about. Importantly, I want to point out that the tables that are here in the front, where you see the people in the front who have the table tents in front and the little folded over cards, these are all the judges who are here today. There were also a series of people who, in addition to these, reviewed these startups in advance to select the ones out of the larger pool that would be competing in today's competition. The judges, I'm not going to introduce all of them, because what I'm going to have them do is during the competition, I'll have them, as they ask their questions, they can introduce themselves the first time they ask a question. But we're extremely lucky. Sometimes you go to a pitch competition, you've got like 4 people asking questions. We've got judges from all over the industry who've taken their time to come here and be with us here today. So I'm very lucky to have that. So briefly, for everyone, you get the opportunity to hear what the judging is all about, and I'm going to actually be giving instructions briefly now to the judges. The judges all have tablets, so they basically work like a mobile phone, a large phone. They're just Android devices. If they happen to be off, you can just turn the little switch on at the top that is just like on a cell phone, and just swipe up to unlock it in whatever direction the device is. And then these devices are all paired to the keyboards, so if you want to use the keyboards, you can do that. So on the screen, then, when you first go into your app, you'll see a screen that looks like the far left of what you see up here on the slide, hopefully. If you don't, if you're on the desktop, just like on your mobile phone, there's a bunch of apps. You can click the one that has our icon. It's looks like a light bulb with a stethoscope in it. So you just click that, and that will bring you to the app if you need to. And then you'll see a screen like the one here in the far left that says Fill Blank Form at the top. That's really the only button you should be using throughout this in terms of from that first screen. You click the one that says Fill Blank Form, then that will take you over to the next screen that says one thing. It just says MedTech Innovator Pediatric Pitch. You just tap that. and that'll take you to the next screen, the third screen over, which is a list of the different companies that are presenting today. Not the ones that you see up on the screen, but there's 11 companies presenting today. You just tap the little circle next to the company that's presenting. That's important. So when each of the companies starts their pitch, we'll say who they are, 149 Medical being the first one. So you'll just tap that, then you swipe over to the next screen, and you'll see a thing that says Your Pitch Notes. That's literally a place to write your notes. So if you want to take notes during the pitch, you can do it there. You could also use a pen and paper if you want to. That's up to you. But you can take your notes there, and we will send you your notes after the day. So you don't have to keep a pad and put it in a drawer somewhere. You can actually have a document. So we'll send that to you as well. But anyways, you put your notes in that field, or you can leave it blank. So that's what you have up on your screen during the pitch. So you can take your notes, swipe over after that, and it'll take you to the next screen, which is the one that says feedback. And this is something I want to stress. So this is an anonymous feedback form. Whatever you write here, we will send to the companies. Although every once in a while we'll go in and edit and make sure, if someone says something really, not constructive, sometimes we'll make a change. But I'm sure no one here will do that. Every once in a while we find something. But, or sometimes, again, it's supposed to be anonymous, we'll find something that's kind of a giveaway as to who the person was. And we really want it to be anonymous. But this is an opportunity to give some constructive feedback. You'll be doing that during your Q&A today as well. But this is an opportunity to say something like, hey, great presentation, but that business model slide, I couldn't figure it out at all. Like maybe you want to rethink that, or I have no idea what your business model is, or maybe you want to think about adding another team member with expertise in a particular, whatever it is you want to tell people, they will get that feedback. So if you find something constructive, you don't have to write a whole paragraph, maybe just some highlights. Write it there. Then you swipe over to the next screen, and you'll see one little question where you previously aware of the company. That doesn't mean you got the packet a week ago and now you're aware of them. It means before the whole program here, were you aware of this particular company? And then after that, if you continue swiping over, there'll be a series of questions. Those are just the kind of the criteria similar to the ones that I think you received in advance. So those are more of the scoring criteria. And it's a scale of 1 to 5, I believe, with 1 being weak and 5 being the strongest. And then lastly, when you swipe past those screens, there'll be a screen for additional comments. That's a place that if you really need to add some comments, you're welcome to, but you'll probably have already exhausted your comments at that point. The last screen after you swipe past that is one that says you're at the end of the form. You can hit submit to save form and exit. That will upload the form to our server, and we're going to be looking at the results later as we're talking about the companies on the screen in the judging room. So the important thing is if you run out of time, and you probably will on the first pitch, because we'll finish the first pitch, we'll give you a minute or so to do your comments and things, and you'll run out of time perhaps, unless you're a pro and you've done this time and time again, like Joshua and James and all the other people here who've come from with us on the road with MedTech Innovator. But if this is your first time, you might run out of time. If that happens, there's a little checkbox in that last screen that you uncheck, and it says mark form is finalized. You uncheck that and still hit save. It'll save the form, and you can always come back then and finalize it later. And you can do that throughout the day if you run out of time, or the next couple hours. So that's the instructions. If you have any problems with the tablet, if your keyboard stops working, you can always pull the tablet out and just type on the screen like you would on a phone. Or you can raise your hand, and maybe one of us will try and come by and help you. Otherwise, it should be pretty straightforward. So as I said, we go through the morning here, and we have the companies presenting. After each presentation, there'll be a 5-minute clock. So for the presenters, there's a 5-minute clock that'll be running here on the podium, so keep an eye on that. And at the end of the 5 minutes, we really do want you to stop, so please try and stay on time so we can give you enough time for really good Q&A. As I mentioned, we have a lot of judges here. Judges will have microphones on your tables, hopefully. If you don't, you can raise your hand and we'll make sure you get you a microphone. But that's the opportunity, as I said, for feedback and for questions that are hopefully going to help everybody make your decision for which companies are going to win today. And there are prizes today. So each of the companies, there'll be, I believe, 5 awards in total of $25,000 each. And then additionally, the companies that are in the program today, the winners will also have the opportunity to be part of our Pediatric Accelerator program, which is an opportunity for them to receive mentorship and coaching even beyond just the Pediatric Symposium. So very excited, it's going to be great. These technologies, as I mentioned before, were sourced from a huge pool of applicants, as we do every year. That's one of the things that we love about this, is that we get to see tons of different technologies, and then we get to pick the best and bring them here for you, which is really an amazing thing. So you're in store for a great show of technologies. And as I said, I really, in addition to asking questions today, I really do encourage you and everyone here in the room to go up and just introduce yourself and offer your support, because as I said, like this is what it's all about. So with that, we're going to bring up the first company and have them present. That's 149 Medical. So if you want to come on up, there's a. If you want to use a handheld mic, you're welcome to. Yeah. You can use the. Give you that.
All right.
The clicker, the green one is the advance. You can see the screen down there that's being turned for you. It's not just one of our keynotes, but he'll also turn the screen. Thank you for that. So that's where you'll see the screen. And then again, watch the time.
Yep.
And if you have, if we get over time, so if you run over 5 minutes, try and wrap up as soon as you can. So
all right.
Time. All right. Thank you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
yeah.
we can.
All right, so thanks everyone. It's really a privilege and a pleasure to be here, especially after the first few presentations. And just a quick thank you for the pitch coaching. So I'm Tony Fantana, the CEO of 149 Medical. As we've just heard from Dr. Wessels, there is a huge problem that we have along the smallest of the newborn, the preemies. And while we've made a lot of great strides in survival, we've not made the same ones in terms of the thriving of those newborns. And what's missing, and one of the greatest causes for premature disability is the brain. Having a window into the brain, a way to monitor what's happening, look at the blood flow, for instance. And there are ways we can do that. And you see here one of those examples, things that we do not want to do with the smallest of the preemies, of course. So instead, we've actually developed the NIRDS, the near-infrared Doppler spectroscope, and I do have the business end here. It's really a small patch that non-invasively attaches to the scalp. And this is something that, as you'll see, correlates quite well with the invasive measures. We are well beyond a science experiment. This is something, our device is really a 2-component system. There's the patch, and then there is a console that has lasers and computers and photon counters. And the two are connected with very, very thin optical fibers. And what you see here down below is just a smattering of studies that we've actually done with the academic version of the device. Speaking of beyond a science experiment, we've actually had the pleasure to talk to the FDA in our first pre-sub early this year. And we've had very good feedback. We've confirmed that we are on a 510K path. And we're working with our friends at R&Q towards the 510K submission. Now, when we talk to physicians, what they really want is a way to measure blood flow in a continuous way that's brain-specific and non-invasive. And we actually do check all of those boxes, the only company for this age class. We, and much more importantly, the physicians that we've talked to, believe we will actually change the standard of care from what you see here on the left, which is mostly lag measures that discover irreversible damage, that are looking at large vessels only, and they're handling intensive, especially when you're thinking about a preemie that might weigh between 1/2 pound and 1 pound for the youngest ones. 2 measures that are continuous, that are able to minimize the handling, and are specifically looking at the cortex. Now, this is, in our mind, the transition from navigating, say, around Boston, or DC for that matter, using a sextant, which is a fine tool, but going to something that gives us second-by-second updates, like a GPS for the brain. We believe that we have the value to support a very nice market opportunity for us in this disposable and console model, where we will charge $2,000 per baby per day for up to 5 days within the NICU stay, which compares quite favorably to even a single day of use for EEG. And this gives us a potential addressable market of about $700 million in the US annually, about twice that worldwide. So just to finish on this part of the presentation, really truly are what we measure. And as you see here, most of the sensors you see in that picture monitor the cardiovascular system, the heart. And that's promoted survival. Now, as we're thinking about what we truly hope to do is to promote the thriving part, to decrease the morbidity. We monitor the brain. We can enable early alerts. We're very proud of our team. All of us hail from the Harvard and MIT system. We have the two innovators of the technology as part of our founding team. Also, incredibly proud of our board of advisors that we have, including world-renowned neonatal physicians. We have folks representing medical device industry, patient monitoring, startups, as well as hospital systems and payers. So it's been a really amazing year for us, especially the last few months. We were just notified of our SBIR Phase 1/2 Accelerated Award. Just signed a contract with one of the really large top 10 pharma companies that unfortunately I can't talk too much about because of the confidential nature. And really cannot wait to talk to all of you afterwards. So please come and introduce yourselves. I look forward to the questions. Thank you.
Hi, over here.
Yes, hi.
I'm Jackie Phillips from Johnson & Johnson. Great presentation. I love
Thank
the
you.
technology. Referring back to some of it you didn't talk about here, so your value proposition is basically measuring blood flow continuously, which I think
Correct.
is great. Your business model, though, is going to be part of a bundling for hospitals, right?
Right.
And presumably to decrease length of stay.
Right.
Do you have any proof of that yet, or is that something you're planning?
Yeah, so one of the major things that we're actually planning once we have our 510K is to run a large outcome study. It's not important to just have something that works, which we're confident. We want to make sure that we actually do improve the outcomes for those babies.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Susan Alpert. I currently am a consultant, but I'm ex-FDA and ex-industry. My question is, you've got a lot of information that you've done a lot of testing, and you just said you were going to get a 510K without outcomes, that you're going to do your outcomes after. I'm looking for the bridge. What kinds of outcomes, what kinds of data do you have that predict that you're going to have those kinds of positive outcomes?
Right.
What are you looking to actually measure, and for how long are you going to follow these kids?
Yeah, absolutely, and this is a great question. So what we do have is the information around cerebral vascular flow when we're looking at swings and hemodynamics in the brain as promoting intraventricular hemorrhages. And this is where, right now, in order to measure those swings, you need to use a transcranial Doppler. Handling intensive, you have to manipulate the head. So this is where really our plan is to measure for 3 days post-birth. So the first 3 days of life, because this is where 95% of the IVHs actually happen, and then confirm after about a week with transcranial Doppler ultrasound. We understand what happens once you see different grades of IVH and how that translates to outcomes.
Sure. Hi, Janine Furch. I'm a neonatologist at Stanford who uses near-infrared spectroscopy a lot.
Right.
So I'm wondering, as a comparator, competitive device, how is this blood flow going to change my management? Am I just going to be able to tell that a patient has had an IVH, or do you believe that you'll be able to intervene earlier?
Yeah, thank you. So we, part of the the name of our device is that extra D, so it's that Doppler component. Unlike the NIRS, we actually can look at the flow as opposed to just the oxygenation level. And we do not penetrate all the way down into the ventricle, of course, to tell you that the baby's had an IVH, for instance. What we can do is to give you that closed loop system to manage those little patients with the technologies and the drugs that are currently available. So for example, how to titrate drugs like dopamine, for instance, to make sure that you do not induce, or if you start seeing changes in the blood flow, the AC component, to bring that back down. More than happy to talk more about that. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well.
I'm Lamia Sagir. I'm the medical director of the NICU at Children's National. So for somebody who buys these devices, I was looking at your proposal, and there was looking at the disposables, which seemed to be the bulk cost of the device itself. So I understood that you're charging about $2,000 for the patch.
Right.
And that's a one-time use per child for the 5 days. Is that kind of?
Yeah, so really the use is $2,000 per baby per day. And this is something that we're currently looking at, either the patch itself. We're still developing multiple versions of the patch. The other one would be, quote unquote, a rental model.
I'm Rais Baromi from Children's National. Two quick questions. For 510K application, what are you comparing your device with? And in addition, I know this directly, the Doppler part measures directly blood flow. Is it also a regional blood flow, like other NIRS monitor that gives you regional saturation for a part of the brain tissue, or is a central blood flow?
Yeah, so this is a regional blood flow. We're looking at this as a proxy for overall blood flow. We can use several of those patches. Initially, we just used one, consulting with the physicians, right? So we can also add the metabolism, so look at the oxygen metabolism as well. In terms of the 510K, I'm sorry, did that?
What is your device is going to be compared for, for submission to FDA to receive a 510K application approval?
Yeah, so this is one of the Ornum devices. It's using a different technology than we do, and both of them do measure blood flow. Our device is quite a bit smaller and actually can be used in the NICU.
Okay.
I'm more than happy to actually discuss that in detail.
Because I'm comparing it with other NIRS monitor that we actually measured blood flow from the jugular bulb catheter to validate the tissue brain saturation indirectly with the venous saturation returning from blood, from brain, to validate for FDA approval. That's why I was so interested to see if this is a 510K application, has to relate to one of the existing technology that is already FDA approved.
Yes, clearly, yes, and the Ornum device is.
Thank you.
Okay, great. I think
thank you.
I think it's all the time we have. Thank you very much. Great job. All right, so we're going to give the judges a minute to do their scoring since it's the first one. Let them fill the information again. On the scale, where it asks you for the scale for evaluation questions, 1 is poor, 1 is poor, and 5 would be strong. So make sure you score in that way. If you have any trouble with the scoring, let us know. Also, and I say us, Catherine Zavala from my team is over there down at the far end. You see her waving down there, Catherine, for those of you who don't know her. And then we have others here as well who are old pros at most of the tables who can help you. So Algometrics can come up and get ready for their presentation. And we'll let the judges finish the scoring. As I said, as we go along, what winds up happening is the judges are doing their scoring while other people are asking questions if they've already asked their questions, and this will go a lot faster. So that's great. We're also very lucky here to have Jamie Haggard, who was the winner of MedTech Innovator's entire global competition in 2016. Wave your hand over here, Jamie. Jamie here in the front. And that was out of about 600 companies. has also won this competition in 2017 and gone on to win, I think, many other things as well. But most importantly, he's bringing a device to the market. It's not just about competitions. He's got a device for scoliosis that is pretty tremendous, and patients are actually using it. I'm sure he'll even take out his iPhone and show you video of that as well. So pretty tremendous. All right, so judges, I think you guys are wrapping up. As I said, if you haven't wrapped up already, judges, you can, you can either get to that last screen and hit that you're not finished yet, and uncheck the little box. There's even a little thing in the corner that has, I think, a save icon, and it'll ask you, do you want to save your information? And you want to say, yes, I want to save, and then you can go back to the main screen and start again. So this time, click the little button that says Algometrics and so on. All right, with that, I'll let you go ahead and do your presentation.
Well, I'm Julia Finkel. I'm a pediatric anesthesiologist at Children's National and the founder of Algometrics. And today I'm presenting the Algometrics Neonatal Abstinence Syndrome Monitor, or the NAS Monitor. A quick word on the company. We spun Algometrics out of Children's National in 2015 to develop the technology which uses infrared pupillometry. We're currently pursuing 2 FDA clearances, the first for this platform, which is a rapid drug test, as well as a pain monitor. Both we